Hello, Mgtows. We're live and on the air, and we were just talking about Western society and altruism. Um, would you help a friend? What do you think about that, Shining?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Everyone about to tuning in. Yeah, we it got me thinking about this issue. I mean, we talked about the activism podcast before. It's come out a few times. It's an interesting topic. We always talk about it. I mean,
Okay, I got some back feed there, don't I?
yeah. Well, obviously, it came up again because Barbarossa had that podcast with TFM, and I think Stardust turned up on that one.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, there would well, one comment that TFM he made that was interesting. He says we should focus our resources because resources are always limited, and especially at this point where Mgtow is in its early stages, we can't really help every man, but those that we can, we should focus on those that uh, aren't alcoholic or are not addicted or
right.
using drug abuse. And Barbarossa and I think somebody else in the podcast pointed out that they don't always fall into that trap of alcohol abuse voluntarily. It's something that they feel compelled to do. So that was interesting. And obviously, I mean, would you if you was past a beggar and he asked you for a few dollars for food? I mean, would it make a difference if he was alcoholic, or if he, in fact, if he was like a different race or even a different beliefs than you? I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. What I always do is, I'm rather altruistic with beggars. I always stop and give a few bucks, but I like to examine them. Uh,
Mm,
I look at their teeth. I
mm,
look at what they're wearing. I look at how they got there. I try to talk to them for a few minutes and try to, you know, see if this guy's legit, or see, if I can talk to him, kind of pry out of him what got him there. I like
mm.
that thing. But I do those things, and but it's interesting what Barbarossa said, and I've kind of been thinking about this myself. We're not here to cure the world. Uh, we're here to cure MGTOWs and bring the MGTOW message. Uh, and that's only going to be a specific group of men, isn't it? We are sort of censored here. The alcoholic, the drug user, the mentally ill. Boy, that's a lot of work, isn't it?
It is, and it's no wonder it's a constant issue that keeps coming up. I mean, obviously, there's a group that say, you know what, so long as you're all right, look after number one. That's what Mgtow is about. Of
Yeah.
course, I think the majority of Mgtow, they'll tell you that it's for all men. You know, Mgtow is a philosophy and ideology that's trying to raise men up from the pit that feminism have put them in. There goes the F word. But the thing is, even as individuals, even if we didn't find Mgtow, I think there's a part of man, there's a part of a human being, particularly I would say, particularly the men, that does have some compassion towards their fellow men. Naturally, I think somewhere on the way, I think that's lost.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of, and I always use this term, Burgess individualism now, that selfishness and, trying to get to the top, that climb to the top, uh, and people get men, they're naturally altruistic and they will do things, but that climb to the top is a rough one, and you got to compete, and sometimes that means you can't afford to stop and
Give
give
charity. Mm,
charity,
mm,
because losing, you know this, and you probably had some losing events in your life where uh, I've started this was my fourth business I started. The uh the the gap between winning and losing sometimes is so slim. It's just so slim, and you have to take care of yourself first, and that was one of the big lessons that I had to learn in life. If I was too altruistic, and this goes back to with females too, uh, if I was giving too much money to a female, back then, or trying to take care of too much. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And what I
Mm.
was supposed to be doing was taking care of the future and trying to win.
Mm. I know it's interesting because I think if each individual man asks himself, do I only give to get back? You know, do I only help other people? In the back of my mind, think that they're gonna one day have to return the favor, because
Yeah.
have we lost that charitable spirit? I mean, is that now dead in our society? I mean, are we no longer gonna help somebody just for the sake of doing a good deed?
Right. Yeah, that is lost. And there's, the other side of that is reciprocal altruism is just good behavior.
Mm,
Uh, if I give if I and we always use this term in Mgtow, if I go help my buddy move, and your buddies always move, and they're like free beer for that day, and we'll put some steaks on, and if you help me move from one apartment to the next apartment, and then all the guys get ready. But when it's your turn, if you call him and he says no, he's
mm.
off the list, isn't he?
Exactly. I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because you sort of feel that he's been ungrateful, because all the times that like you've given him gifts, or you've helped him out, or you've like been doing things for him, you sort of feel, well, if he was grateful, he'd do the same back. But that raises another question. Um, I mean, does charity? Are we only good to those people who are like family, or like we know, or like friends, or is charity and kindness for all mankind? I mean, it's an issue that I don't think has been talked a lot amongst the Mgtow, and I think I think we should
I
pick it
think
up. I
it's
mean, it'd be interesting to see what other guys say.
yeah. Yeah, it is very important. I did the video last night on how I opened my house up for transitional men around my area.
Mm,
Uh, and I think it's very altruistic. I have 2 extra rooms, and this kind of solves the problem for me of male homelessness. Uh,
mm, mm,
but I do know that every man isn't in the situation that I'm in. So I can't say to every man, get a room or get a garage and just throw a few beds in it and be ready to take a guy in that's coming. Maybe we see them all the time. We see men that get thrown out of their houses by their women. The courts throw out, they end up on the streets. And he doesn't need full-time housing. There's nothing wrong with him. His brain is perfect. And them are the Mgtow candidates, aren't they? The guy.
well, that brings up an interesting point. I mean, it I mean, there's no man that knows how important charity and kindness is, except the man that's been homeless, except the man that's been
Yes.
absolute bottom. I mean, after that man's been homeless, after he's been penniless, after that, he does get a sense of, oh, you know what, I need to
Oh,
help other
yeah.
people.
Yeah, if I get back on my feet, I use the story of Immortal Mgtow, and
Mm.
people look at that story wrong, and I like to look at that story as here was Immortal Mgtow, and he was homeless, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
But it wasn't a Mgtow; it was just a man that was altruistic, took him in, and in a
Mm.
way, he was doing such a fine Mgtow duty there by taking Immortal in, and then
Mm.
now Immortal wants to give back, and that kind of brought him to this community, didn't it?
Mm, mm. And you see, I think a lot of MGTOW can empathize with that, because we've all been in a very, very bad state. We've all been down that
Oh yeah,
dark road.
oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. But it takes that. You got to have. You got to have that knowledge. You have to be sort of been through that, don't you? I've been through that twice in my life.
but why
One,
is that? Why do you think? Why do you think men, particularly men, they can't just do it because it's a humanitarian issue, or they're doing it just out of because it's part of their character? Because obviously some men are more generous and more outgoing and more vibrant than other men. Other men will be more reserved, and men differ in characteristics, and I think
they
one of
do.
them is generosity.
Generosity. Yeah, there was some issues I was looking at yesterday with that, and it comes back to what we talk about a lot: the naysayers and
Mm,
the pessimists. A lot of men have pessimism in Mgtow because of anxiety.
mm,
Uh, Anxiety has a lot to do with how you react in an altruistic situation. If you're thinking that someone's going to hurt you in that situation, and that's just us going into our heads and making up stories before they happen.
Mhm.
You're going to be the guy that's not going to take another guy in. You're going to be the guy that's afraid.
That's
We
right. That's right.
have to jump over that hurdle. There's a very good clinical explanation that I looked up, but I forgot what it was.
Well, that reminds me of something Man Woman Myth once said in one of his great videos. He actually says, why are men so quick to believe bad of other men? You know, it's like, I mean, unless you've been falsely accused yourself, unless you've been falsely accused of rape or domestic violence or
Yeah.
violence yourself, you don't realize just how easy it is. It's like once you've been accused, it's like that suspicion is on you. But why is that so? I mean, do we not live in a society where it's innocent until proven guilty?
Yeah, you would think that would be the general. That's what we're all taught when we're children. From the time we, go to the first grade, one of the first things we learn is, some of the social cultures about innocent before, be proven guilty, and how our system works,
But
and
the
how we
problem
should act.
is, whenever, I mean, speaking generally as a society, whenever we go past a homeless man, it's always, oh, look at him. He probably
Oh,
squandered all his money on gambling. He's probably an alcoholic. He's probably a wife beater. He's probably been in prison. He's probably a criminal. But if we see a homeless woman, oh, that poor
oh,
woman.
yeah, yeah. We automatically go there with in our heads that there must have been some man behind that, or
Mm.
some social institution that put her there, and we don't think about her the same way as we think about men. That's interesting. Uh,
Yeah, so it points out that surely, I mean, something's wrong with society, isn't it? I mean, as men, we know that. I mean, me personally speaking, not until I came into Mgtow, I've not actually met any man that actually hit his wife. Never met a man that hit his wife. Never met a man who's even said that he hits his wife. I've known quite a lot of families. I've been in quite a lot of situations before, and it's normally the wife that hits the husband
right.
first.
Yeah, yeah. I know men that have defended themselves
Mm.
uh, because they just couldn't
No,
take it no more.
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're in a situation where you're living with a woman and she's slapping you and she's throwing pans at you and she's
Yeah,
burning you and she's threatening to stab you with a kitchen knife, and at some point you just do have to you have to defend yourself. You have to slap her back.
yeah. You have to do something to make her stop. I remember this incident, and this kind of goes into what we were talking about. The another topic was how do we know when the emergency 911 situations you were talking about the other day, that we all came at the end of our blue pill lives. We were all in these 911 emergency situations where the woman was just acting just screwy.
Yeah, I mean that's a good subject to in fact to make a video. In fact, me and CS we were just talking about that the other day. We were considering making a video for the men. You know what to do in emergency. You know how to spot a toxic woman or a woman who's going to potentially put you in prison through a false allegation. You know what to do when the police turn up at your door. You know what to do when
Yeah.
you're at the prison cell. You know these are all very good things to know. I mean, obviously, a lot of men, Universal Studios, me, Messenger, we make videos on what we did and how other men coped in those situations. But what would be the ideal, what would be the ideal action to do in those circumstances?
I found from experience that, and this may sound a little harsh, but the ideal situation to be in when she starts acting like that is not be there when the police show up.
Mm.
If she even picks up that phone and said, your natural your natural response to being in those situations is going to be to sit there and argue with her.
Mm.
But as soon as she picks up that phone, as soon as she goes and she does those things, and I'll tell you what, as soon as she walks out of that house into the front of the house, uh, on the phone with, even if you think it's her girlfriend, you should leave the house, uh,
Mm.
and don't be there when the police show up.
Mm. Is there a contingency plan before that? I mean, is there any action that you can
Yeah.
do before it gets to that point. I mean, when my friends discovered what happened to me, one thing my friend's wife said to him, he says, if you ever upset me, I'm going to do what's, and they mentioned my name and my ex-wife's name, I'm going to do what she did to me. And then she actually threatened him with false allegations. So
Yeah,
if you ever upset me, I'm going to accuse you of
right.
sexual abusing your kids.
Yeah, the domestic violence or sexual violence, silver
That
bullet.
that's a warning sign, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, that is a warning sign when they pull
would,
that
that,
out.
would that be a point where you're trying to think, well, I need to think of a contingency plan, what to do if ever she does that?
Right. Yeah, you should start planning at that point. Check your bank account. I know that because I got had in my bank account. She cleared it out. You should check your bank account, put a hold on everything. Maybe stop paying the bills. Start looking for an apartment that you can live in, because that's when we end up homeless. Is that transition period, which may be a month before you can get enough money in your pocket to. If you're left flat broke like I was, there's no going out and getting an apartment. No one will rent to you.
That's right.
Having a bank account that she doesn't know about, and I used to preach this all the time, and every man I ever met that was married says, hey, Joe, have a bank account that she doesn't know about. And that was a contingency plan, and I didn't realize it at that moment, and everything was being honest with her and being fluffy and just playing the game. But they don't act correctly at the end of the game, do they? They do them bizarre things.
Yeah, and if you can't do that, I mean, at least have a stash of money. I mean, like just put a few dollars away a week, and
Right,
just
yeah.
be prepared for when the police. But if the police do turn up at you and they tell you to leave, don't leave. Don't leave the house. This is my advice to you guys. Please turn up at the house. Your girlfriend, your wife, just called them. Says that you have just hit her. If there's no bruise on her, if there's no cuts, anything like that, they have no legal right to take you out of the house. They can't arrest you because no crime has been committed. They'll threaten you with a breach of peace, etc. Don't leave the house, guys. Sit there. If they grab you and try to take you out of the house, that's assault, because they can only touch you if they're trying to implement an arrest. They can't touch you up until that point.
Yes.
Don't leave the house, guys.
Don't leave the house. Yeah, because if you, and I found this out from experience, when you leave the house, she has control over everything. Then what I did in one situation at the end was the police showed up one night. I was upstairs in bed. I was sleeping. I was trying to get ready for work, and then the police noticed that right away. It says, well, he couldn't have. I woke up and I came. I used to live in a double, so I was staying upstairs and she was staying downstairs. So they knocked on my door and I opened it up and I says, I'm sleeping. Is this important? And they clicked in the police's head that no, this couldn't have possibly happened. What she said had happened.
Yeah, I mean the police know. I mean, a police officer that's been around for a couple of years, he knows the false allegations, they're an everyday occurrence, and they'll know. But unfortunately, due to the gynocentric laws, you will be treated as guilty, as long as you know that they're only acting according to policy and not law. They will not be acting upon law, they're acting upon policy.
Yeah, them are gynocentric policies that these don't represent laws. They're traditional feelings that they're having.
That's right. It's passed down from government. They'll have some feminist. I think in the US they're called senators. In the UK they're called members of parliament.
Yeah.
And they'll be telling the police, the Home Office will say, this is what you do in terms of suspected domestic violence. It's not law. It's not a lawful act at that point. They have to put it in the UK through the law lords, and I think through the US, I don't know what the procedure is, but all you have to know, guys, at that point it's not legal for them to implement that gynocentric policy. So stick to your guns.
Yeah, stick to your guns. That's important at the beginning. Them are just core values that they're feeling, and them core values get pushed down, like you said, through the government, and that's how traditionalism takes over our government. They evoke feelings in the police officers, and the police officers should be well briefed on these feelings of core values because they have nothing to do with reality.
That's right. They've got nothing to do with reality. It's just based upon whoever had the loudest voice, whoever had the
Right.
loudest lobby. It's it's a problem we have to deal with, guys. And if the more clued up you are on that, the better equipped you will be in the case of such an emergency.
Yeah, for most MGTOWs, it's just going to be bringing a girl home, and then if she starts acting bizarre, you need to get her out of your house at that point. You know, we most of us, some of us date, some of us don't date, but there's always going to be a situation where there's, and this is just life. More than half the society out there is females. So if you think that you're never going to have a female in your house acting weird, that's kind of wrong. It could be your sister's friend, your sister, a friend of, and a lot of times, and this is the example I like to give. Most of the time, it's going to be a buddy of yours bringing a girl over for, say, the football game. We sit down and we watch football and we watch sporting events, and then he's going to bring this girl over, and then she's going to get drunk and start getting loudmouth. And them are the situations where you really have to apply your Mgtow knowledge to, because if you just take her and throw her out of your house, she has the right to call the police at that point.
Well, there was a case a few weeks back. I won't name any names. Hopefully, the brother will appreciate we used in his example. But it was a Mgtow. I remember the Mgtow community. He was helping out a bunch of friends. They had like a girl who had been kicked out of her boyfriend's house or flat, and he said, the Mgtow said, "Oh, you can come stay with me." Obviously, they were trying to find a place for this girl. So this girl's living with this guy, and they had a little bit of a nookie, and he only thought it was going to be 2 weeks, but then it turned out that she thought that because they had some intimacy that them two were now a thing, and she was expecting to stay there for good. So now he's in that situation.
Yeah, she just she moved in. She's parasitical now, isn't she?
Yeah, you better be paying for my shit.
yeah, that's the entitlement thing. Before you know it, like we talk about so many times, if you don't put stop gaps and stop measures in with these women, before you know it, she's sleeping on the couch, and then she's sleeping in your bed, and then she's taking your monogram towels down and putting pretty towels up, and then she's throwing away all your stuff and then replacing it with her stuff, and it becomes, that's how they grow into your house.
And guys are weak, guys are weak to it. It's like, oh, she shows a bit of she shows a bit of skin, and the next thing you know, you're kissing and holding, and next thing you know, you're going on to final base.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, she because you've seen her naked, because you've had her, now you're now number one, your DNA is all over her, so she accuses you of rape. You're in deep shit. And number two, she's now expecting you to look after her.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, it's bizarre behavior. After you become a Mgtow, it's bizarre behavior. But before we were when we were blue pill men, we just kind of accepted it as natural. And the clear-cut signs was, if she was acting like that around your buddy, do you think she's not going to act like that around you?
Guys are so weak, aren't they? It's like they think, well, when I get to that point, I'll think about it. Up until then, let me just see if I can get first base with this woman.
Yeah, let me just try that out. Take it for a test run.
Yeah.
See if the motor still runs, see if she revs up.
Well, of course, the more smarter Mgtow guy, he'll be clued on. He won't be letting her get past the door. He'll be saying, no, There's plenty of women's shelters. All the government programs are for women.
Yeah, there's 44,000 of them in my country alone. I think that estimate is Northeast America, Canada, and America. There's 44,000 gynocentric programs that will take these women in at a drop of a dime, but they will be more than happy to leave you out on the street.
Oh, who was telling me about? Because there was one. I think there was one charity in the UK which helped homeless men from abused households, and when it came out that the charity was actually helping homeless men,
They
the
closed it
donor,
down.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right, the donor withdrew the finance.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
was
I
so
had experiences with that earlier in my life. About 8 years ago, we were running a house. We did it all legitimately. We got the house. It came through a donation from a 501c, and then the house went up for one of these dollar bids. If you wrote up the right if you wrote the right grant for it, you got the house. So we got the house. We got two counselors in. We got a doctor in. We got an administrator, an A1 administrator, and then I started doing teaching at the house. What we figured was, and it's a very good idea. What I do is I teach maintenance. I'm very good at maintenance. I can teach 1 and 2 and 3 maintenance and general electrical schemes and everything. And we got $5 million for that to run this house for a 5-year period.
Very
So
nice.
yeah, but these come in increments. They come in and they check that what you had said you're actually doing. When the female, and she was a female, came up from Florida, and she seen that there was a male house. We had 14 guys in at that point. You know what she did? She shut it down.
Yeah, that's the case. Man, if we don't look after ourselves, no one's going to do it. And I've always said this. I says we need to start doing things. Number one, for ourselves, because obviously if you're not in a good state, you're not going to help anybody else. And number two, you have to start helping other men.
Right. You have to take care of yourself first, and then from that, we hear this adage all the time: you can't help anybody if you haven't helped yourself first. If you're not healthy, then you can't help anybody. Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. So, but we know how these things work now. I was clueless back then how these things work, how gynocentric laws or even gynocentric traditionalism and these core values that they had would affect the whole outcome of the really, really good project that we had going.
Well, I mean, what do we do? What's the way? What's the way forward? I mean, what's the next step for men? What's the next step for Mgtow?
Ooh, I like the idea that I posed. We do it on an individual level, and we group out and span out. We can have big houses that cost a lot of money, or we can have a lot of little houses that don't cost nothing.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's certainly possible. I mean, that's certainly a small step in what I would say it's the right direction. If guys that have a spare bedroom and
Right.
they can offer it up, if we can start some type of a network where guys
Right.
who know other guys, and we have to emphasize the word men, other men that are going to need a temporary place to stay. I think that would be a fantastic thing.
Yeah, it doesn't cost me any money. Actually, it does cost me a little bit to keep a room heated because I have to heat my own room. When I cook dinner for myself, I have to cook dinner for myself anyways, and that's usually dinner for 2 anyways. It doesn't cost me any extra money to do these things. Plus, if you do these, you have the opportunity to instill a Mgtow attitude and a red pill attitude in the man you take in. And it's like I said, it's just transitional housing. You're just trying to transition him back into. There's nothing wrong with these guys. Let's not go to that place where we automatically assume that you're not taking in, like we said, drunks or alcoholics or mentally ill people. You're just taking in another guy for a period of time where you're going to give him a little help. You're going to feed him. You're going to maybe get him back to being healthy and get over his emotional woes. and give him some red pill, and then he can save his money. And that's what men will do naturally. He's going to save his money. You're giving him a few months free, and what you're really doing is giving him a break from life, which he probably needs, you know.
Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? I mean, if men could do that for each other, wouldn't that be a fantastic goal to reach for?
Yeah, it would be just fantastic. And the networking on that can go far and wide, couldn't it? Like I'm in Ohio, you're in England, Messenger's in England, Nico's where he is. See, I didn't dox him.
Yeah, and it's quite easy to. I mean, there's already charities that do this. I mean, I was a volunteer for a certain charity.
Yeah,
where you know you offer up your sofa or your spare room, and the homeless person would take it just for the night. I mean, the charity that I was with was a Christian charity, and do you not think that's quite sad that it always has to be a religious charity that does these things? I think it's right. I think come on, atheists, get yourselves out there. There should be an atheist charity
out there. Yeah, you know what it is? It's about money, because they run them through 501s and they run them through grants, and they get grant money. The original, we're not asking for grant money because we know we're not going to get the grant money, so we can basically do what they do with public funds. We can do it for free. And I always say we're not working with the system no more as Mgtows. We're becoming the system.
Yeah, and I think as I hope you guys will excuse the term, as a collective, I think we can do something very, very positive, very, very monumental. I mean, I'm trying to think of another case, another country, another nation that has a type of a network of men that just do this for each other without having it to be some type of a half government validated organization.
Right. Yeah, I think we can look at some of the African countries where they don't have big systems. They've developed systems of lodging, haven't they?
Yeah, I think we need it as well, because think about it. You're a man. You've been having a few problems with your girlfriend, with your wife, and one day he gets taken out. He's not followed our guidelines. He's been taken out. He spent the night in the cell. The next morning he's not allowed back in the house. She's managed to get a court order. He's not allowed back in the house. He can't go to work. He's not going to work for the next few days. He could really use a break at that point. He could really use that network where he can have somewhere where he can shower, he can get changed, he can prepare himself for work, he can get a decent night's sleep. So it's not going to screw him up as much as it normally would.
Right. Yeah. You know how important a shower is, just a shower that make you feel better.
And also just a few hours sleep a night. I mean, if you're homeless, you're going to be walking around. You just walk. You don't sleep. You really understand what it's like to be homeless. You see all like the guys that are laying on mats of cardboard in doorways, and you're thinking, oh, there's no way I'm just going to fall asleep. Or you on the park bench, you're just walking back here and there, and because you're not used to it, there's no way you're going to sleep.
Right. Yeah. That's just being comfortable is so important to a man. And like it says, these situations grow out of just how many men do you know just come home one day and their stuff sitting out on the front steps in 2 suitcases,
It's a sad situation. Nobody's helping us. Nobody's doing anything about it. It's that big hard red pill that's been forced down your throat.
Oh yeah, Warhorse says the YMCA, if you're lucky enough to have one around, and I've had a lot of experience with the YMCAs because we did run men's housing. And they've stopped that. There's no such thing as, in Ohio at least, of YMCA housing anymore. That's one of my biggest complaints about the system. They've been gynocentrically hijacked. There used to be the YMCA, and Warhorse knows this. there used to be houses out there where just men lived, and you had maybe 14, 15 rooms in there, and you just got your room. And the government shut all those down.
Yeah, the Young Man's Christian Association, they were a fantastic group, weren't they? I mean, I mean, I stayed at a YMCA once. I actually had a really good time there. it's just subsidized hostels now. It's not, they don't really.
Yeah, they get their money from the Gynocentric too now. So what are their interests now? Their interests are in when I dealt with them, when I seen this end coming to what they were actually doing. There used to be men's housing, and then all of a sudden there was 3 or 4 women's housing, and then they got more money from that. So the obvious was they're thinking business like in these situations. So they started opening up the housing for families, a family to them is just a woman with a couple kids.
the YWCA now.
Yeah, it's the YWCA. Yeah, the women's. There were fabulous places, like you said. They had gyms, pools. You can get your shower. You had heat. You can usually go out. They'll link you with the Salvation Army then, which is another fabulous program. And the Salvation Army had dinners and lunches for homeless.
Yeah. I mean, I stayed at the McBurnley one. If anyone out there knows where the McBurnley one is, I think that's one of the biggest ones in the US.
Okay, the McBurnley.
The McBurnley YMCA. Hi to all you guys. If anybody is at the McBurnley, my greetings and salutations to them guys. Love them guys, doing a great job out there. It still is a YMCA, but as I said, it's just a subsidized hostel where you stay in a room. It's not safe. It's not really safe to have any type of a property there. I mean, there's a lot of guys down on there looking to try and steal anything from your room. I mean, right. I had things stolen from my room all the time.
Yeah, they will take your boots, won't they?
They'll take anything. They'll go into your room. They stole my shampoo. They stole my shower gel. Everything.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's sad when you look at that, isn't it? It's sad that they don't have these things. That should be. It should be just kind of. I know for a fact, the women's shelters. The first thing they hand the women in a women's shelter is they get donations from L'Oreal, and everything is they hand them makeup and they hand them shower utility stuff, and they hand them a big bag of this stuff. But when you go into a men's shelter, there are no free handouts, and
you get nothing, guys. Nothing.
Yeah, you get nothing, and it's sad because they think that men don't need. All we need is water.
Not a water and a mattress that's got piss on.
Yeah, a stained up. Probably got fleas and some bed bugs in them. They do a good job taking care of those. But but it will have a stain or two on it.
Yeah, at least. So I'm looking at the pillow. I'm thinking, how can a pillow get so stained? What have men been doing on this pillow? Yeah.
Is there a washer and dryer I could throw this pillow in?
Yeah. But they're fantastic places. I wish that those more we could do, but as of now, there's nothing for men that are going to be down on their luck. I mean, you still have to pay to go into a YMCA. I think their little dinners are free. I think every now and again they have like a dinner or a luau or something, and they're free. But beds you have to pay for the YMCA.
Yeah, you have to. There's a certain amount. I think it's in most places where I've seen there. It varies on if you do have an income, and then they start working it back, and that's where the gynocentric comes in, because you have to get interviewed now. You have to get what's called let me see if I can remember this. They like the government charts and tracks homeless and what they consider. If you're considered homeless, you're automatically considered a drug user. So they chart and track. They attach those things because they can get more money if they do attach those things to the 501cs. So it's called the GIPRA. And I'll date myself a little bit if some of the guys do know what the GIPRA is. It's a questionnaire of about 40, 50 questions, and they're tricky questions. And they'll ask you things like have you committed a felony in the last 30 days? And then 5 questions later, they'll ask you, have you smoked pot or did any drugs in the last 30 days? And if you answer yes to that, you've essentially committed a felony, but in your mind, you don't know you committed a felony. So it tells a lot about your mental state.
Yeah, it's true. It's really messed up that they, the police, the social services, they always try and put the blame on men. If a man's down on his luck, it's somehow always his fault. That's not the case. It's not the case at all.
Yeah, they'll go as far as asking you, have you had a few beers in the last? All men, most men I know in a week's period are going to have a few beers, and then they're going to say, well, he's an alcoholic, and then try to get money for that out of him.
They think if a man's homeless, or if a man's if a man's been kicked out of his house, it's a trigger warning to the police. I mean, number one, it's the police that do it, and then number two is the police that then say, well, now that this is a trigger offense, so we're gonna have to take some DNA, some swabs, and see if you've been on drugs or whatever. It's
right. They take hair follicles. Now we took hair follicles and then send them away. We got the free rehab work done from places. So they already, but you're assumed guilty as a man, because you know what's going to happen when you're going to stop shaving. And I've went through this. I've been homeless before. So I stopped shaving. I looked the part. I didn't have nowhere to wash my clothes. So my clothes got gray and dirty. And I looked the part. That wasn't an indication of the man inside the clothes. That was an indication of my situation, not me.
It's sad, isn't it? Because that's how society is. And you'd think, hopefully in Mgtow, we're trying to dispel that myth that men are always guilty. I mean, surely in Mgtow that has to be a place where that gynocentric bullshit has to be dispelled from our community, because we know, as we know, men are good. Men are good.
And let me tell you, the last 3 guys I took into the house, I did the induction for them. I did the proselytion, and I did the paperwork. You know what those guys did in real life? The 3 guys, one was a dentist, one was and 2 were engineers. So, but they've decided in their lives that the one guy lost his dental license for doing molds in his basement, and then that put him in his situation. And then the 2 engineers just decided that being an engineer wasn't what they really wanted to do in life. So they're going through this transition period. It was not that they were they're all 3 of them were very educated. I used to love to have talks with these guys because they were very educated. They would talk very coherently, and but they looked the part. They looked the part. They were unshaven. Their clothes were not new, and they had gone through it.
And that's going to happen. I mean, I heard the police do that, but when they keep you in what's called in remand, like when they arrest you and they don't want to put you up for bail, so they keep you in a cell overnight to go in front of the judge. Obviously, they don't give you a toothbrush. They don't give you a razor, of course. And I know they're not going to give you these things in your cell, but like you're supposed to get like 5 minutes in a bathroom with a razor and a toothbrush and a comb, and so you can wash yourself and present yourself before the judge. But the police purposely don't give you these things, so when you go in front of a judge, you look rough. You look rough.
That was a big problem for us too in the housing situation. Was, man, we went through a lot of razors, and I was always just Kmart would give us a grant for a mini grant for like $500, and we just spent it all on razors and shaving cream and soap, and it was always a constant struggle. So when you give money to Mayor of Mgtow, and I suggest that you do, one of the best things you can say to do with this money is razors, soap, and a small amount of medical like Band-Aids or creams or lotions or just
cream.
Antiseptic, Neosporin. That can make a total difference in infection with a homeless person, because the biggest killer of homeless guys out there, other than suicide medically is infection.
Tetanus. Yeah.
Tetanus. Yeah, they get
Yeah.
a small cut, and it turns in they don't have the medical the ability to go to a doctor and get these things, because everything's based on money. Even if you do have insurance, it's still you still need $200. You still need $200 to get looked at. So
it's oh wow, it's a real minefield for guys out there. I mean, there really is no help for guys, and unfortunately, I think because a lot of men, they realize this, they sort of adopt this attitude that, well, nobody helped me, so I'm not going to help anybody else. But
right, yeah, the nihilism, the negative thinking, and that's due to stress. I says the negative thinking in males is overwhelming in Mgtow, and man, I don't know how to fix that problem, and maybe we need to make more of those happy, joyous videos instead of always being negative. The downer, like this isn't going to work and this isn't going to work. I had how many guys on my, I don't know, a few on my video yesterday tell me, oh no, that's not going to work.
I know. Oh, Marvin the robot.
Yeah.
Well, we have that. I mean, I think in the Mgtow YouTube scene, we've got all types of guys making all types of videos. I don't think there's any need for telling anybody to change their type of video or change their style of video, because we've got it all. I mean, we've got like Sandman to do the entertainment.
Yeah, we got Sandman. We got Sandman for the entertainment.
We got some entertainment.
He does do a good job on that, and he does provide a service for the community. I wish that would just end. God, do you wish that would just end, or do you want it to go on for the entertainment value?
No, I think the problem is people are taking that entertainment as being serious philosophical ideological stuff. So people are he's selling it. I hope nobody minds me saying I hope there's no fanboy. I'm not saying this to offend the guy, but I think the reason why people are so upset is because the Sandman is being regarded as a serious contender for an intellectual, but his stuff isn't really that that ideological developed. It's not.
Yeah, it's not all that.
And of course, the problem arose when Huffington Post pointed Sandman out as the founder of Mgtow, which made a lot of people start pointing fingers at Sandman even more, because obviously, if you're selling yourself as a intellectual, a Mgtow intellectual, and you're not, then of course you're going to get called out. Of course you are.
Yeah, of course you're going to get called out, but he has his purpose, and I wish we can get him on here. Don't you wish you can get on here and just kind of sit down and talk like we do, like just a bunch of the guys talking?
If he had done that, I think if he had done that, like when people were asking him to talk, I don't think he'd be getting the backlash he is now. But the fact is, he's been keeping aloof. He's not talking to. I know he's spoken to. I think he's done one interview, and actually before the interview, I actually was asking him to come talk with us several times. He didn't respond at all. I know the guys have asked him to talk, and then for some reason he did one interview, and that was I know, guys, I'm going to go on the record. I know for a fact that interview was all the questions there were pre what's the word? When you go for all the questions for an interview.
Oh yeah, it was scripted.
Yeah, it was pre-planned. All the questions he was put. He wanted to know what all the questions were, and it was pretty much a very sane thing. I don't think anybody got any answers that they wanted really out of that.
Yeah, but isn't that the point? We're all fallible. I'm fallible. You're fallible. Every guy that's ever come on here, we're just fallible in certain things. He projects himself as not being fallible, and that pisses off a lot of. It just pisses off a variety of Mgtows. The best thing you can do is just open up sometime and just be a part of the group, be among the guys, and I'd like to send that invitation out from. This is the least hostile place I've ever been in. Mgtow and these chats, we rarely get hostile with each other. And I think if he came down to this level once in a while, it would show that he's human too, you know.
Mm. And yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, once your channel starts to get popular, I think something like above 10,000, it sort of starts getting to people's heads. They sort of get that celebrity status, so they
Yeah.
start walking around like a Miley Cyrus.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm above everyone, and I've seen it happen to nearly all channels. I think there's very few exceptions. I don't want to call anybody out because I don't want them to stop. Because you need that humility, you need that attitude of being humble. Because just as quickly as you got those subscribers, you could lose them. Just as quickly as you got that YouTube channel and all those donations, you could easily lose them. I mean, this is something that all those big channels that need to remember.
Yeah. What's it's the ultimate next step that we talk about that we can't put our minds around or our fingers on. And the ultimate next step is that grassroots thing that we talk about a lot. This thing needs to build on a grassroots level, but on a grassroots level, I need to talk to you, and I need to talk to Warhorse, and I need to get together with Messenger, and I need to do these things, and we need to be working out a system here.
Exactly. I mean, Mgtow in itself was a philosophy or ideology developed for the benefit of men. It's men going their own way, not man going his own way. I mean,
not a man. Yeah, it's plural. It's men, which is plural, going there, which is plural, own way. So it's the group going their own way.
Yeah. So when you start saying, "Oh, I'm the lone wolf," which, by the way, ISPL just did a fantastic video, but unfortunately, I think he's taken it down. Did a really good video about Sandman's last lone wolf video, and then there was another one. What's his name? Red Pill Chemist. He did. Did you watch his video?
Oh no, I haven't watched. Yeah, I haven't watched Red Pill Chemist. I wanted to invite him into the group here, and him and Drew and those guys. They just started a new group hangout over there, didn't they?
I don't know. Maybe you can tell us more about that.
Okay, yeah. I think it's Drew and Red Pill Chemist and a few of the other guys, and I joined in it. I have a new project going where, and this goes back to us looking at men in that serious light with empathy. We bring a story of a celebrity, and we can all do a story of a celebrity or your favorite guy, whether it be Tesla or your favorite Mgtow from the past. And it could be a favorite Mgtow. The guy I kind of chose and I'm looking at right now to do a story on was Corey Haim.
Oh yeah, the famous from the Hollywood Rat Pack.
Yeah, the Hollywood Rat Pack, Corey Haim, and how his life went and how he was blue pill and how he was blue pill. And at the end of his life, after he had dated all those spectacular, beautiful women and everything, he was left living in an apartment searching for friends, and he had pneumonia and died. But I think he got it at that point. He made a statement, and I've been searching for the statement that, I get this red pill thing now. I know what it's like to be discarded and be a disposable utility, because that's what the girls in his life did to him. They took him for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's quite sad. I mean, we only know about his case because he was a celebrity, but unfortunately, it's very common amongst a lot of guys. They get used up for their utility, and when they're no longer useful, or when the gynocentrism finds a more useful man, I mean, he gets discarded like a dead battery.
Right, yeah, from the guys from Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh area. There's probably a few guys around there. The Pittsburgh Steelers, ex-players, the Hall of Famers that were working at car washes at the end. We can see that hypergamy had played out in their life. And do you think they get it at that point when they're working at a car wash?
Oh, they do. I think they do. I mean, after you get like male celebrities that have reached a certain point, they sort of they come to a realization. For example, Mike Tyson. I mean, when he was, accused of raping that woman, and obviously the details of that. I mean, come on, let's let's recap, shall we? She was seen drinking and dancing with him all night. You know, they were at a party together. She goes back to his hotel. She climbs into bed with him.
Yeah.
Voluntarily. She admits she climbs into bed with him, but voluntarily. She strips down to her underwear, to just her knickers, and then she says at that point, that's when he proceeded to rape her. Now, I'm no expert, but I think that there's a couple of signals there. I think when a woman does that, she's giving off a couple of signals. Now, the thing is, I don't want to comment on the legal case, but the fact was, this guy, he basically got taken to the cleaners by this allegation of rape. And when he was in prison, I think that gave him a lot of time to think. Not just Mike Tyson, but a lot of guys. You know, a lot of guys that had this a toxic encounter with a woman. You know, they ended up thinking, oh, you know what? You know, something's just not right here. You know, yes, all my money didn't save me. My celebrity status, all my contacts. You know, I got taken to the cleaners by this bitch.
Yeah. We can look at Bill Cosby and the Lakers player Kobe Bryant had that happen to him. And I always had an argument with a lot of guys think that yes means yes is a bad thing. I think the yes means yes is a good thing, because it gives, like you were saying with Mike Tyson, it puts into law a motion of ingress and ingress. And when I talk about egress and ingress, there's doorways in our lives. The woman had a doorway. When she opened the car door, she got into it. She said yes. She got out of the car door. She went into the restaurant. A door is an ingress. She opened the door, went in there with them. She said yes again. Isn't that what she's saying? She walked through the motel. She said yes to go up to the motel room. She walked through the door, and that's a very solid yes. She removed her clothes, and that's another solid yes. There's evidence by preponderance at that point that she said yes at least 7-8 times during that date.
Yeah, I know, guys, man. It's such a minefield for men out there, honestly. I don't, guys that want absolutely nothing to do with women, I don't blame them at all. And all the PUA inclined Mgtow, they don't seem to understand. You know, this is why. You know, they play the game, obviously, right. But it only takes one really toxic bitch to really screw you up. It just takes one, guys, and you know, your cushy career, your cushy a mortgage and your payment on your car, it's all gonna get, it's all gonna get compromised, because now you're dealing with this horrible court case. And you know, it happens, guys. It happens to a lot of guys, you know, small and big, rich and poor. It happens to all, you know, old and young. It happens to guys all over the Western world.
Yes, it does. It does. Your status, or if you're a bigger status person, you're a bigger target.
Exactly. And I want to point out all the footballers. You know, there's a huge epidemic now in the UK where footballers are getting falsely accused of rape, and time again, you know, because footballers out there, you know, you need to play it smart. You can't be going to nightclubs, going to discos, and fucking around with girls, and then you're taking them back to your hotel room. And surprise, surprise, the next day you're in a police cell, you know, getting your DNA taken. She's accused you of rape. You're going into a court, and you know, they're asking for like 2 to 20 million pounds of compensation. It's surprise, and you know, every now and again she gets called out. She goes, yeah, it never happened. But man, I mean, what it does to these guys' careers, because obviously they're a public figure. You know,
just a mere accusation ruins their career. There was just a story out last year, I think it was, about the English footballer that had to go through that, and he came out okay at the end. He didn't go to jail. But, still,
there were six. There was like 6 footballers. They all went out on the town one night. This woman, she claims that the 6 of them gang raped her.
Oh yeah.
They gang raped her. And it was Harvard, in the newspaper. They got suspended. You know, I'm sure at that point the 6 of them were thinking, what the hell?
Yeah, it's the Harvard lacrosse team over again and over and over and over.
and then 6 months later, she admits she made it all up. That's it. No, nothing happened to her.
Yeah, that goes back to what Barbarossa said about the toxic. Yesterday in his interview, he said about the toxic element, or Sandman. Stardust said it yesterday. Sorry about that, Stardust. Stardust said about in America, you should be worried about getting in an elevator with a woman. And that's just not a woman. That could, that could be any woman. And I'll tell you what, if you're in a restroom and a child runs in, oh man, you just get out of there, because that could be automatically the P word,
Oh wow, that reminds me of another story when I think some planes, some airline companies, that they don't allow men to sit next to children.
Right. Yeah. It's assumed that we've all got this malady, isn't it?
Wow, how fucked up is that, guys? It's like, are you automatically presumed to be a pedophile to be a sex offender by the airline companies? And the guy, he made an excellent point. He says, that little boy that you're not allowed to sit next to, one day he's going to be exactly the same shoes. He's not going to be allowed to sit next to a little boy or a little girl.
Oh yeah, that's what the mothers that do these things, and the mothers, they don't think there's going to be any backlash on their little boy. But we've seen this recently with the major feminist that her son was accused of rape.
Yeah, it's a really, really messed up situation. Yeah, but I mean, what's the solution? What do? We learn about Mgtow. We warn about
Mgtow, yeah.
Yeah, we warn other guys. We try and form a network for the Mgtow men around the world. It's something feasible. It's not so hard of a it's not such a big thing. To just to network with other Mgtow. And do you know what? I think the problem is we still have that little bit of blue pill.
Right. Yeah.
Mentality in us. We still think, I don't really know this guy. I don't really know if he's gonna like steal my stuff, or he's gonna pull the old one eye on me.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson once said.
Yeah, what is that? Yeah, he's gonna rape me while I'm sleeping. No, that's not gonna happen. That's nihilism, and that's thinking the worst, going to that tells a lot about you, doesn't it? When you say things like that, if the guy, not specifically you, you in the general sense of
the person, the individual, the person.
Yeah, if you're thinking like that way, and I'm thinking like that, that tells a lot about what's in my brain, how fucked up I am.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, we still got this blue pill mentality. Some of them, I mean, the term purple pill comes up, but the fact is, I mean, even for the guys, I think even for the guys that have been taken through the ringer and through the grinder, I mean, once that red pill starts to wear off, I mean, over the years, they start to get back into their routine. They forget, they try and forget their toxic relationship, and gradually some of the Mgtow, they get back into that routine of, I can do this, and I can navigate this blue pill world, and I can get back into the swing of things, and before you know it, they've engaged. They're no longer the term Mgtow is completely removed out of their head, and we'll probably come across a few guys like that, if not already.
Right, I have to ask myself every time a Mgtow producer leaves, could it possibly be that he was that guy? And he just got back into he worked himself through the whole cycle, and then he worked himself right out. Back, he was, what was the guy in I hate to use the Matrix analogy, that wanted to go back into the blue
Cypher
of the world. Cypher, yeah, he just ciphered himself out.
Yeah, and it's true. It's like I was saying to another brother, the red pill seems to wear out, and some of the things that are going around Mgtow as well, some of the ideas that you need to take some responsibility, regardless of whether it was your fault or not, you need to take responsibility for what happened. And not all women are like that. There's going to be the odd unicorn. Yeah, I mean, you all admit it. The chances of finding one's infinitely impossible, but there's the, you know, she's out there, and unfortunately, it's selling the Mgtow the idea that
Right.
purple bill's all right to be. You know, purple bill's the norm, and it seems to be in Mgtow.
Yeah, that's just a weakness too, and we all fall for this. You know, that 50s concept of the perfect house, the perfect woman, the you know, Beaver Cleaver's mother, you know, the white picket fence with the flowers all around the house. That is so attractive to a man, isn't it?
I know it's a dream, isn't it? I mean,
It's the dream.
I mean, for a guy to have like I know a nice, a beautiful, obedient wife, and you know, beautiful kids, and his house, and you know, he goes to work, comes back, everything's clean and tidy. You know, the everything's cooked and bought for him. You know, everything's looked after. He just after the finances. I mean, that's a dream, but I mean, guys, man, that's over with, isn't it? That's been over for some time.
Yeah. But how can we compete with that? You know, how does Mgtow, you know, you take a look at my channel, how does Joe talking on, you know, giving these blue pill, these red pill, you know, hit points, how can I compete with that dream? I can't compete with that dream. There is no way I can tell a man that, hey, just listening to my channel and going over to Barbarossa and this and develop is going to compete with that dream.
I think at some point in every man's in every man's life, he does realize that he's gonna have to adapt his dream, and I think that's what happens. I think Mgtow has taken that to the furthest extent, though, because they realize that dream is just so impossible that we need to start planning and living our lives accordingly.
Yeah. Wake up, guys. You know, that dream doesn't exist. That's a, you know, you're going to end up in a factory working for the woman. We're not, none of us, I don't know of any of us that are on that top 10% where we can buy ourselves out of bad situations. The reality for us is we have to live normal, everyday lives that don't include that dream, and may never include that dream. It's a beautiful one, but you know, that Disney classic, you know, man meets girl and rides away on the white horse thing. It's attractive. We love that idea in our head. It starts with, you know, from the time we're just little kids hearing these fairy tales in school. And we get so sensitized, but it's not real. It's fiction.
I made a video on that. I think I called it "Love Going Once, Going Twice," because we're sold this idea. We're sold it right from the beginning, especially if you brought up in a gynocentric household, you know, by single mothers. We're sold this, you know, in the music. We're sold this in the films, in the cartoons, in the books that we read at school, in the literature we have to study. I mean, we're sold this our entire lives, and it's such a harsh lesson to remove from your head, because from that moment you first get dumped by the first girl that you ask, and you know, you build up all that adrenaline and you build up all those nerves, ask her out, and then she rejects you, and then the first girlfriend you do have, and she dumps you for no reason. It's like a complete shattering of that of that fantasy, and unfortunately, guys have to learn it the hard way.
Right. Yeah. After you've the red pill awakening is that suicide moment also, isn't it?
Yeah, some guys, they take it really, really bad. There was one guy down here, it was actually in the newspaper. He actually left his wife to be with his what's the word now, for someone you have an affair with.
Oh, your mistress or your you know.
Yeah. He actually left his wife to be with her. Obviously, his wife was making his life a nightmare. So he thought he'd have a life with his mistress, and then he came up here, lived in the city where I would move. You know, got a place. They moved in together. Turns out she was already seeing another guy. She was already seeing another guy, and the next thing you know, the guy's found in his new rented apartment. He's hung himself. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it was in the paper a while back, and in fact, actually went past the house. The police had completely cordoned the road off, and they were searching for stuff, trying to because obviously the police, they have to investigate whether or not it was a murder. We know somebody hanged him, but yeah, the poor
Yeah, that's the
guy.
yeah, that's the what is that? The Virgin Mary thing. We that's a is that a different thing than we when we grow up we think all the women are virgins. We think all the women's are
Yeah, are
Madonnas.
virtuous. Yeah,
Yeah.
we think women are virtuous. They're honourable. They're loyal. Just like they are in the cartoons. Oh, so sweet. Is that
Yeah,
the
and
eye
we
Disney?
yeah, then we find out they're the Black Madonna. They want to kill you.
Yeah, that's right. They're the Wicked Witch.
The Wicked Witch. Yeah, yeah. And that gets shattered. That dream gets shattered, and it's hard to go through. I know it was for me. It was very very emotional, and it was like, oh man, women are women. And it goes back to sexual cryptis, and that's why we say these things with these evolutionary sciences,
Hmm.
because no matter what you think, the woman is always she is always searching for the next better man. She is always searching for like the starfish, she's always searching for the bigger rock, the mate under.
It's hard for guys to get their head around that because they've fallen in love. I mean, it's it's a cliche because in society we're told that women are the ones that fall madly deeply in love and they're blind in love. But actually, I think it's
No,
guys. I
it's
think
guys that
guys
fall.
do.
Yeah, we're so much more emotional with at least with those bonding. It's a genetic imprinted bonding where it comes from the protection of sperm, the sperm protection, where we have to feel that that's our child, because that's the only way we can send off our genetics into this world, is to make
Yeah,
sure it is our genetics.
and and men look at their girlfriend, look at their wife with these rose tinted glasses, and they
Yeah,
tend to be a lot more forgiving. I mean, if you look at how women treat their partners, the women they presume they think, well, if I presume the worst, I'll catch him out before he cheats on me. So they presume that he's speaking to other women. They presume that he's sleeping with other women, and unfortunately the men they can't see it when actually
right.
she is doing that to him. She's like ready to pull the plug, and even those that are in a monogamous relationship, she's always resentful towards him. Because
Yeah,
she's seen that other men are doing better than him. Other men are living in a better luxury than he is, and they're
right.
thinking,
Yeah.
you asshole, why can't you be doing
Why can't
just
you
as well?
see it? Yeah, why can't you see that? Why can't you be doing that? They're thinking, isn't that like if you're reading a book and it was like a Charlie Brown book and you seen Charlie Brown falling into this, would you yell out, "Oh no, Charlie Brown, she's a whore"?
Yeah, Charlie Brown. That's a fantastic reflection to say, isn't it?
Yeah, she's gonna pull that football out from you every time.
Yeah. Well, I just need to pop out for a few minutes. I don't know if you can handle the podcast by yourself, but I'm just gonna. I just need to.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I'm here alone, hey, start. Who's out there? Warhorse, if you want to pop in. Turk, if you want me to send you an invitation in. We don't seem to have the scheduled guest in today that we were supposed to have. So if anybody wants to come in reflections, just put it down and or you can go to the group of 11 and come on in, or one of those groups, and come on in. I was looking forward to a few of the guys to come on into the group today. So we're a little short on hosts today. I'm sorry about that. It's probably my problem. My week has been filled with computer problems. I ran out of space on my computer, and then I couldn't make videos, and I couldn't get on for a while. And this leaves me short on sending out invitations, and it kind of hurt my head a little bit today. And this thing I'm supposed to be doing. And let's Zeta's out camping this. This is Zeta's podcast originally, and he's out camping this week. And we talked yesterday, and he's at the Algonquin National Park, and he's doing some canoeing and looking at some things and taking some shots. So we are going to get some really, really good footage from nature footage from Zeta after these. He went for 2 weeks. He scheduled 1 week on that, and he went for 2 weeks. And he just decided to go back and do it again because it was probably so refreshing to him. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about getting out as a man and getting out into the wilderness, or getting out and doing your thing. Fishing's important. Yeah, he is a lucky bastard. Yeah, Mgtow says he's a lucky bastard. If anybody wants to come in on the podcast, feel free to send me a little message here, and I'll invite you in. If it's most of the guys know that it's in the link to the G Plus Hangout, and you can go to that link, the group of 11, and come back in the podcast if you want to be in the podcast. I was expecting Dark Knight. He's a busy man, and but I can understand if he got something to do, or if he doesn't have the link. It's in the podcast link, or who else was I expecting today? Just a regular group of guys. Sunday morning sometimes gets a little hairy, doesn't it? We have things to do as men, and we can't spend the time with Mgtow that we need to spend, or we think we need to spend. And Mgtow doing these things as Mgtow is just to reach out to the community and make yourself be known. What happened this week in Mgtow? We've seen a lot of the old back and forth between the major Mgtow producers, but there was quite a fabulous podcast. I thought it was fabulous, with Stardust and Barbarossa and Red Doomer, and TFM was in that podcast, wasn't he? I think TFM was in that. TFM's one of my favorite new. We'll give a shout out to TFM. I love the guy. I think he's one of the greatest new Mgtows that we've produced, and a very intelligent young man. Along with that new group, we have the Dark Knight, and he's in there, and Isolate Pretty Lies has been around a while, and we've got these new up and comers, and they're great guys to have around. So it seems like we lose a few guys. Private message me and invite me, mate. Okay, I'll do that, Turk, and I'll send you the link to this. Where can I find Turk at now? And Warhorse, you're always invited in. You know that, you old codger. You've been hiding for a few weeks from the group. Just link in if you want. Where can I find Turk's Turk? I have to go through all this, and where can I put this? Okay, I'll have to go through YouTube to do this. So there's been a lot of interesting things that I wish we can get back to helping men and doing those things more, and forgetting about our personal ambitions, and in Mgtow, and forgetting about how we can just become successful. So there's always a gentle line drawn between success and Mgtow, and you got to want that if you want your channel to grow, and you've got to want that. Oops. Let's see what that message is. Okay. Mgtow says he'll send the message to Turk for me. So there's the link I sent. I just sent it on the Mgtow page, and you can send that to. It's hard for me to multitask, and I got lazy a little bit earlier this week. I had a lot on my mind. Doing these things sometimes takes a lot. So where's that page back? Now I got to get back to the original Mgtow page. Oops, I've lost it now. I can get this back up and see what people are talking about. Does anybody have any questions for the cast of one right now? It just seems to be me in here for the group. There I go. I'm back in. There it is. I got the echo. Okay, Reflections wants to come in. Let me send Reflections I'll put that in your private, in your about page. That was easy to find. So there's the link, Reflections, and the message has been sent. That's an easy way to do it. I just realized that I could have sent him Turk that in his. Let's see. Let's send I'll send that to you in your personal page, Turk. And there you go. That's in your about page and send message. Those. Okay, there's Turk.
Hey, gents.
Hey, how you doing, Turk?
Good. I've just finished working out. I've been working on my lower body.
Oh, that's good to do. What do you do to work out?
Well, I was doing some leg extensions. Leg extensions for my quads. I did some leg press for my glutes, my glutes and my quads. I've done a bit of treadmill work for about 20 minutes. It was a bit of a short day today. It was a Sunday,
Yeah, Sunday's hard to get it going. You do a little bit of cardio. I'll probably end up doing my regular walk. I walk like 2 miles a day up to the grocery store, and then I do that purposely now. You could jump in the car or do that, but you're cheating yourself out of that exercise you could be getting.
Yeah, absolutely. But not only that, but I do believe that Mgtow should promote self-preservation as a male.
Yeah, health is important, and that's this podcast is the health and science podcast. We talk about a lot of it, but we like to get into healthy stuff. Do you take supplements, Turk?
Fish oil, omega fish oils for vitamin D, and also for my my bones, my ligaments, to be more flexible and also a bit of protein after you work out, because when you're working out, you're damaging your muscle tissue when you're working out, right?
Right, yeah.
So the protein you eat, you consume, repairs the damaged tissue, and it becomes stronger, the muscle,
Yeah, I just started, Zeta turned me on to it about a month ago. I just started the superfood green drink that you get. I got it in berry because I found the seaweed types and the grass types were intolerable to drink.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they can. Oh God, I mean, it can be a bit much. The seaweed. I had that once upon a time. It was a bit, but
yeah.
The
new ones are better.
Yeah. I mean, what my vegetable consumption will normally be spinach for iron consumption. A bit of lean steak. Lean steak. You don't want to have it too thick because there's a lot of fat in steak. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it is a lot of fat, and you want to keep away from that, especially if you're aging.
Yeah.
When we're young, we can eat as much of that as we want, but as we get a little older, that's gonna stick to your belly.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the thing with Mgtow. I mean, we're talking about, this is the thing that we should promote. It's like self-preservation, health, make articles or videos about how, you can look after your heart better. I mean, and how to have, because when you're doing cardio as well, you're strengthening your lungs, you're strengthening your heart. It's exercising those organs, It's very important. Yeah.
Right, yeah, with the things you eat too. We hear a lot around about now in the vegetarian diets and everything. And the worst one, I tell this to all men, the worst thing you can do is get on that banana diet. Uh,
Mm.
that as you get older, what happens, and you don't realize, we don't realize this when we're younger, that your calcium intake and it attaches to your heart, and you build up calcium build up on your heart. And
Yeah, yeah. It can lead to, I think it can lead to heart disease if you consume too much calcium.
right, and we constantly damage ourselves as men because we're more active. Uh, what happens to the damaged tissue in your body if it's not excreted out your kidney or your liver? It turns to calcium, and
Oh,
that attaches in your veins. Who do we have in the room here? Eric.
yeah. Eric. Hello, Eric.
Hello, Eric.
Hmm.
He's probably getting his sound ready.
Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, on another note, I mean, I've had Dean Ismay on my butt.
Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I admire his work and I admire what he does. He contributes. However, the guy is completely, he's adamant that Mgtows can be married. There's such thing as married Mgtows, which is just an oxymoron to me.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear you.
Yeah,
Oh,
we can
that's
hear you. Hello there.
Is it good volume?
oh,
Yes,
that's good
yeah.
volume. Yeah, that's is this Reflections?
Yeah, it's me.
Okay, you changed your I was wondering who is that what's that
Yes,
new
it looks
avatar?
great. Just join us like that. Usually it's I
Yeah.
can join with my channel logo, but this was like my Google Plus
No, this is fine.
logo. So yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, we were just talking about a little health, and we were going into a little bit about the Mgtow tensions, and there's always tensions around here, doesn't it? Isn't there?
There's Sandman, Stardust. I mean, them two. I mean, Stardust. I like him. He's an excellent. He's a very intelligent individual. I mean, very intelligent. He can be condescending. He can be a bit of an elitist, but he is an extremely intelligent individual, and he's contributed a tremendous amount to the community. That can't be denied.
That can't be denied. Yeah, the work. I think the good work he does far outweighs the bad work he does, and we get wrapped up in this myth of the producers, and we don't really know these guys. Like I know you, Turk, and then I know Reflections because I've talked to you, and we've had personal discussions. So that myth was sort of dropped out of the scene. But with Sandman, what happens is it leaves open that we tell stories because we don't know him.
Yeah. To me, Sandman just seems a bit petulant, petulant child because. Last Sunday he had an opportunity to be invited within the hangout with Stardust and to bury the hatchet, as it were. To go their separate ways, not mudsling one another. In future videos, but he refused not to. And
Right.
Nico Chosky did try to organize it. However, it just ended up with Stardust talking. I mean, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Have you seen his latest video on Mgtow and Red Pill women? Air quotes. Red Pill women. I thought that was very good.
Yeah, I started watching that this morning. It was very good. I like Stardust new stuff, and it was very. He brings up a lot of points, and he gives us something to think about. But with Sandman, the best way to dispel any myth that's out there is just come around and show yourself as human.
Yeah. Man, to be honest.
Yeah, don't leave it up to our imaginations because we will take that a far way.
Well, if he wants to be, like that, if he wants to be antisocial, and he also has, he has said that he is a lone wolf. He is someone that is a loner. He doesn't really interact with others.
Yeah, he's Burgess. He's a Burgess individual, and I personally have problems with that. But I was that way at one time.
Sure.
I'm sort of independent and Burgess, and it's the way I get things done. And I can see some of his points because the biggest failures in my life is when I include people into my life and I trust and things don't get done, then I have to do them myself anyways. And I think that's what he was saying. Yeah. Anytime you include somebody in your life or in these sort of things, like I just went through here, I ended up with nobody on the channel because I didn't do it myself.
Yeah. I mean, you have to really trust yourself in order to get something really done. I mean, you can't really put your trust into others, or otherwise you kind of get disappointed. From my experiences, anyhow.
Right, and I can see how that grows with a lot of men. We should be able to trust each other, and you've just proven the point of Mgtow. You jumped right in and said, "Hey, I'll be that guy. I'll come on and help Joe out." And the Reflections did too. I appreciate that. I appreciate both of you guys.
Oh, no problem, Joe, man. It's a pleasure, man. I enjoy talking to you guys. Sometimes I don't have time because I'm in the gym or I'm helping my mother out. Because she's not. She's not a well woman, or I've got other things to do. I've got chores in the house. But it's more than a pleasure to talk to you guys. I enjoy it.
Oh heck yeah, it is. Sunday mornings, what would we be doing anyways? Watching cartoons or watching a sporting event. Do you have an elderly aging mother, Turk?
Well, she's not. Well, 58. She's 58 years old.
Okay. Some of you guys know I just went through that with my mother, and we're all going to run into this in life as we get older. I was probably about 42 at that point. My mother took ill to leukemia.
I'm sorry.
And for the next, she died last year finally. So that was 8 years of my life. Taking care of my mother, and I loved I'm not going to say it was a bad thing. It was horrible in some ways for my mental state and my mental health. You become a caregiver, and then you get a caregiver's disease. But
you're seeing someone that you love just waste. You know what it is. I'm not going to describe.
Yeah. So in my case, at the end, I'm changing diapers and giving her shots. If you ever had to give your mother a shot, every day, there's leukemia medicines that you have to give them every single day, and then you got to manage everything down from the money to the pills. You got to sort the pills. You got to change their diaper. You got to change their bedding daily. You got to flip them. Flip them over, and it becomes that sort of thing where you're the sole provider.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're basically like, the house nurse, and you're looking after, your mother, right? But you know what? I mean, I've just had a thought. I mean, as we get older and as our mothers get older, does our desire to find a female, our natural male or our male mother need, does it exacerbate as we get older and when we see our mothers get older? Do you think it exacerbates?
Yeah, we were talking about this a little about that natural inclination to want to live that dream, to have that, because that dream is so appealing, the white picket fence, the 3 kids running around, you're the male, you're the man doing what you're supposed to do, but that's not a realistic dream, is it?
Unfortunately, it's an idealistic fantasy. It's mental masturbation, as I see it.
Mental masturbation, and we learned this in Mgtow. It would be nice if women were, trustworthy and not cryptic and all those things.
Yeah,
if there was a Nawalt out there, I'm sure I would have found her by this point in my life.
Traversable, Joe. Why is it within the society? Sorry, Eric, are you going to talk? Sorry, man.
Yeah. I thought about this, need for love, the male mother need, and all that, and I figure like. If you want affection, you can get like a cat or a dog.
Yeah.
And you usually get a lot more out of hanging out with male friends, like intellectually, and it's like you have the same interests, and so and all that's left then, I guess, is the sex part, and that you can take care of somehow, So it's not really a need, I think.
Yeah, you can boil it down to its bare essences, and then kind of sort what you need at the time, and it's a better way to look at it because you don't get involved. You're not emotionally involved. You're not.
What I also discovered, like, is if you get into meditation and all that, and it's almost like there's a difference, there's two opposing values. It's this, feeling of freedom you get, you're free, you don't have so much to worry about, and relationships, they're always an attachment and
Yeah.
something, another person to worry about that you can't control really.
Well,
And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't help or you can't control another individual in a relationship. You cannot, and I repeat, you cannot project your idealisms onto another person, and especially a
right.
woman, because women have
What
their
I
own
found
agenda.
is when I'm alone, like meditating, it's like you get the taste of that mental freedom and you get it a lot more.
Mm.
And it's almost like you start to begin to almost prefer it to, it's like if I had, you start thinking like, what if I was in a relationship now and I had all these, hormones going and I was worrying about, what is she gonna do next or all
Yeah.
of that, then that feeling of freedom, it's really, really nice. You just get
Yeah.
peace of mind, it's quiet, you feel free, and yeah, it's
Yeah, we
Well,
do put we put trust in women. We I hate to do circular logic back on this thing, but we trust them, and then they fail us, and then that's when we're in trouble. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with everybody in life. Putting trust and not doing, and that was Sandman was saying. It's better to do it yourself. If you want something done right, do it yourself. Uh,
absolutely.
mm,
uh, and that's with women too. You can't put your trust in them. It's a fantasy because you give her your checkbook and say, hey, pay these bills on these dates. Guess what she's gonna
mm,
do? She's gonna buy shoes.
yeah.
Well, put it this way,
And
Joe. Sorry, go on.
yeah, I was just thinking like I I've been, trying to meet women. I'm 27 now, and
Okay.
the women that I'm interested in, maybe they're between, 18 and 23.
Yeah.
And what I find usually is that they don't have any substance to them, is I find they're all the same. This sort of like they're all sort of like little mini celebrities on their social, Facebook and
Well,
Instagram, and they have a
they,
ton of fans. They have nothing intellectually valuable to. They don't have any
Eric.
really interests or opinions or values.
Oh
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Well, it's simple, isn't it? I mean, they're at their peak of their beauty. Why would they have to acquire knowledge? Why would they have to acquire anything of value? They look beautiful, don't they? They've got these beautiful faces, bodies. So they think to themselves, "Well, fuck it. I'm not going to work hard to improve myself. I could just flaunt my stuff, and guys will, drool on the sidewalk and say,
Oh
like,
yeah.
act like a
and
bunch of
it's like
idiots."
Yeah. I just
if
had
you're
a
gonna have a relationship with them, then it's like, what are you in it for?
yeah.
If it's if you
What are
don't
they
have any
bringing?
common interests, it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Well,
so I got a warm body, that's nice, get some intimacy, some sex, but
mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
well,
you can just,
The
well,
beauty,
yeah,
isn't there? There's a
it's an,
certain.
it's an illusion. Well, let me tell you something, guys, right? Let me tell you something, right? Sex has such little value in society that you can buy it. Yeah, with a certain amount of money, you can go to a hooker and you can fuck a hooker, and that's it. That's had such little value sexuality is. Female sexuality also, You can pay a certain
mm,
amount of cash, you can get the full works, blowjob, anal, vaginal, the works. That's how little value it is, yeah? So
Yeah.
there's none of this. So this whole, stupid mantra of the golden vagina. A lot of these, men, in society see women. It's like an illusion. You can
Yeah.
go to the hooker and just have sex, and it's meaningless.
Yeah. Have you guys run into this certain particular type of woman, being younger guys? I've noticed a certain particular. She's particular in reflections brought it up. They all think they're superstars. They all have this this certain thing where they're the Disney princess and they do karaoke singing and
yeah,
they sing the Disney songs and they think they're going to be on America's Most Wanted Celebrity and they go to these events and then they sing for them and they do this. Have you guys run into any of those females lately?
Joe, you know,
Like,
Joe, it's
I
like a
find,
chart.
I
Sorry, man.
find them everywhere. Like, for example, most of them have this Instagram and Facebook,
Yeah,
and they have like so many followers just because they're beautiful. And then uh, it's like some of them they like do video blogs or they do, and it's like just boring, ordinary stuff like,
yeah,
oh, I ate this nice salad today in this place. Oh, I partied, and it's basically all they do is like they go to cafes and have salads, and then they go to parties on the weekend, and then they sort of display, oh, I bought this new dress, or it's like it's all like fluff.
Yeah, you
They're
know,
like, yeah,
it's like I find the biggest common denominator with the more attractive a female is, the more mundane and boring they are. They seem to be.
yeah.
yeah.
There's no
It's
talent or
almost like a
substance.
law, sort of like Stardust maybe should do a video on it.
Yeah, that's the Disney princess, which has no talent. All she does is smile, and it's like the old Marilyn Monroe pics where she just smiles and guys go bananas.
It's it's like ego inflation also for them because it's like they get so much attention and they start maybe to delude themselves into thinking that they really are
Right?
interesting in
Yeah,
people
yeah. It's
just because
delusional.
people smile at everything they say, they like all their photos, and
That's the problem because too many males give validity to attractive females, and then these attractive females think, oh, well, I must be intelligent. I must be that special. But as soon as they hit the wall, they're not going to be males aren't going to be interested anymore. So it's basically they're fucking themselves over by thinking, oh, I must have some value, not just my looks.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You know where I see this a lot? I go to the regular pubs around the place and have a few beers and everything, and they have the karaoke. And then I don't know how many women, and the worst thing that could happen in our society. You remember that Frozen movie that came out? It was called Frozen. Uh, all the women were up there singing these Frozen songs and thinking, and then they get big applause, but it was horrible. They had no talent at all. The only talent they had was between their legs or what they looked like.
yeah,
It was just
yeah,
horrible. And they're under this delusion that they're going to be on America's uh, Got Talent or one of those shows where they're just going to show up, smile, and
and also like I've heard some research like the more partners a woman has, the less likely she is to stay faithful. And a lot of these girls, they're sleeping with so many men. So why would anyone want to have her as a girlfriend? I mean, honestly,
yeah, yeah, promiscuism and is a part of
she has no like essence, no interests. She's
no,
just like
yeah.
shallow, and she can't stay faithful. And all she does is follow her emotions, and she wants drama and chaos. And
Oh,
it's like, yeah, why?
why? Yeah, when everything can be so smooth, one of the rules around my household is we don't argue, we don't fight. We everything should be calm because calm is going to keep us alive a lot longer than stress.
I have a story to tell. It happened to me like I was talking to a girl online, and I was like, okay, fuck this. I'm just going to be honest with her. Like, so I just write to her like, I can't see any value in women like you besides sex because I can. You don't have. You're so shallow and all that. And she was like, at first she was like, oh, it's so fun to talk to you. You're not like every other guy messaging me, she said. And later I wrote her on like Snapchat. Do you know what it is?
Yeah,
And
it's you communicate through pictures, do you?
yeah, exactly. And I was like at the library, and she's like, I was writing maybe some sexual stuff to her, like trying to get her horny or something.
Right.
But she got really pissed. So she said, it's too late for you now. I have like these criminal friends. They're gonna come and beat you up.
Oh, wait, wait,
And I
wait,
was
wait.
like,
Wait, on what grounds were they? Why would she, threaten you with that? I don't understand.
I
Did
don't
you?
know, maybe she just got pissed at me or something
Yeah.
because
Well, that's what
she
they
tried
do.
to, she, I don't know. It's like, I mean, I thought like, oh, well, she can block me. She can, not read my snaps or whatever.
Yeah,
What I
but
sent.
that's by
So
proxy violence, by thuggery, isn't it? By the white knight thuggery.
yeah, but actually what happened then, it was like she started. After that, I just said I don't want any trouble, you know, and stuff like that, and I apologized, and she's like, it's too late. And then she started to fake being interested in me, and I almost got it because I thought she was shit testing me, you know,
Yeah.
like telling me I was going to get beat up. So I sent her some pictures of me, like just like regular portrait pictures. And after a while, this thug-looking guy, he came into the library, and he just said like, you shouldn't write to this girl. It's bad. It's a small town. And she basically had him sent there, and he didn't want to say his name. And
Okay.
and then okay, so I wrote it and showed him because I didn't want any trouble, you know. And then he walked away. And later that next day, I saw she wrote a post on Facebook where she put me out with names and pictures, and she said I was sexually harassing her on the internet.
Okay.
And I was like a psycho, and it got shared like 400 times.
It's absolutely ridiculous. What disgusting bullshit. Let me assure you something. A lot of women on the internet will, you know, expose themselves. Look, I was talking to a female on Twitter. I mean, you know, she found me attractive, you know, obviously, sort of thing. And okay, you know, she's about 26 years old, same as me, my age. And she said, let me see your penis. And okay, I thought to myself, okay, why not? You know, I showed my penis, and she was absolutely like, you know, she was like, thought it was like great, all that sort of thing, and she showed me her vagina. Next thing you know, she's getting offensive, and then she fucking tells me that she's married, and then she tells me she's married. Right after she tells me, send a pic of your dick.
Oh my God, yeah, it's small microcosms of
It didn't go anywhere, but I got one anonymous phone threat. So like a guy who called from an anonymous number who had obviously read this Facebook thing, and there was like tons of comments of guys like, oh, I'm going to beat him up and whatever. I haven't even seen the girl, you know. And I was like, she could have blocked me, you know, but she just wants to use her female proxy, male violence power, you know.
Yeah, the wheel of violence power.
To show that she's the queen bitch.
So, well, that's the thing. That's the thing. They want to feel powerful. They want to feel as if they're the authority. These little girls, and I suppose they want to use violence by proxy because obviously they're too weak to physically have an altercation with you, and they just use other males, exploit other males in order to get what she wants, i.e., you getting beaten up. You know, because that woman is too much of a coward and she's too physically fragile. A lot of women do that. If you give them too much aggro, if you, try to confront them on something, they'll say, "Hey, I'll get my husband on you, or I'll get my boyfriend on you." Violence by proxy, because they can't do it themselves.
Right. How many times do we see this play out in the regular pub in your area, or the wherever you meet? I noticed this. I made a video about it just the other about 3 months ago. I was with a friend, and he brought a girlfriend, and they started arguing in the pub, and before you know it, he was in a fight with 2 other white knights.
God. But you know what the sad thing is, Joe and Eric? They are not even aware that they are being exploited by their own girlfriend.
Not even aware, yeah. And the girlfriend's not aware that she's doing the by proxy violence against him. I tried to explain that to her after what she had done was by proxy violence, and she didn't get it. She thought that it was just somebody standing up for what she would call her honor.
It's basically so sickening. I find how much proxy violence someone can have if they're really beautiful and young, because they can, they have all these friends on their Facebook, and they can just take any guy, his name, put his picture out there, said he did this to me, and then there would be like so many, like maybe 100 guys would want to beat this guy up just because. But yeah.
Yeah, tough internet tough guys. But let me tell you something. A lot of these girlfriends or wives that set their husbands or their boyfriends onto another man, they are so ignorant that they're not even aware. What if that man that you're what if your husband that you're setting on another man, what if he has a knife? What if he knows martial arts? What if he knows to fucking kill a man? So basically, you're putting your man, your husband, or your boyfriend in eye of danger. But are you so ignorant, or are you so short-sighted that your husband could potentially get hurt if that man knows how to handle his shit?
Yeah, and this goes back to the Evo sciences of, you know, what she's essentially doing is she's doing tournament mating, and she's putting one male against the other, and she's enacting the tournament mating. And what that says about her is she's still being cryptic. She's mating still. So if you're the guy that's enacting this tournament system, you got to think like, hey, is this woman worth being around? But they don't get it.
It's with every woman. I mean, you know, tournament mating sort of business, you know. I mean, okay, I just find it absolutely abhorrent. How could you truly love your man, as you say it, when you're putting your husband or your boyfriend or your partner, whatever, into the eye of danger, you know, into a confrontation where he could potentially get hurt or, much worse, get killed.
And they don't see that. They think it's they giggle, don't they? They giggle about those things.
They giggle. They see it as this. It's inflating their ego. It's inflating their narcissism because they think to themselves, "Oh my God, two men are fighting over little me," and it inflates their ego. It inflates their fragile ego and their narcissism, and it makes them feel good about themselves because they're so insecure about themselves.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are, and it's just typical. As a Mgtow, we see these things very clearly through the red lens, and we can spot them out. But you know, that's what we're doing. We're trying to get out there and help these blue pill males see these things, how dangerous, how risky it is for them to include themselves in these kind of behaviors.
You know, Joe, chivalry is still very strong with a majority of males in society.
Sure is. Sure is. Chivalry. They'll jump. They'll white knight. They'll jump, and then the worst possible situation is he starts simping, and then you get a bunch of men around there thinking, okay, now I can just knock this male off and take that, and it becomes very dangerous.
Also, like, if a woman accuses a man and she puts him out on the internet with a picture and a story, then just by default everyone is going to believe her.
Exactly. Right. Why is it that you think, guys, that false rape allegations are so prevalent, and you know, a lot of men go to prison without any sufficient evidence or no due process? Because people are so, you know, subconsciously they just believe whatever the female says, whatever they say, without any evidence or whatever. Because you know, we're hardwired to protect the female. It's just how it is. It's sad.
Yeah, it's like this blue pill view of the woman as a saint, who could never lie, who could never do anything wrong, who is always the victim of these horrible men who are trying to use her for sex, and it's like always that role they take, and we tend to just view like blue pill guys or white knights. I guess they feel like, yeah, she's the saint, they need to protect her.
It's so stupid. I mean, you know, you're the fool guys that just they just grow up, you know, they grow and they become wiser. You would have thought they'd be aware of it, that, well, hang on a minute, I'm being played against I'm being played against of another man for her own self gratification, her own narcissistic desires, you know. I mean, my mother even told me this, you know. She said to me, you know, watch out for these slags, these whores that will, you know, put you against other men in order to protect her so-called honor, because those women love seeing another man fight over her because it makes her feel good about herself. Watch out for those type of women, Hassan. You know, that's what my real name.
It's also like if they point out a male as like sexually harassing her, and then white knights come into the rescue. It's like those white knights are doing that because they're hoping to get in her pants.
Well, not only that, but they're validating her bad behavior.
They're validating, right? We do this a lot in society. Well, that's the way society runs. Major wars get started over stuff like that.
Exactly. You know, it's like, you know, the state paying for single mothers. You are validating and you are, you know, enabling the bad choices and bad behavior of single mothers. And, you know, it's a vicious cycle. Single mothers, look, let me tell you something. There's a statistic that as I've seen, by a neuropsychologist that suggested that 89% of serial killers have been brought up and raised, or have been raised by prominent domineering mothers. 89% of serial killers, guys like Ed Gein, guys like Ted Bundy, guys like Richard Ramirez, guys like the Green River Killer, were all brought up by single mothers.
Yeah.
No kidding.
We just seen that with what is that? Sandy Hook, Adam Lanza. Adam Lanza was brought up by a single mother. His mother was getting $300,000 a year in child support. Adam Lanza, when he died, was 102 pounds, 6'2". He was emaciated. What was she doing with that? She wasn't taking care of the kid with that money. She was taking care of herself.
What a cunt.
And we wonder why these boys snap. We wonder why he snapped. He was probably...
It's like, no matter if she has sex with so many men and pops out some kids and she's a bad mother, and men will still like treat her like a saint, and that's the problem. I think men need to raise their standards and be able to say shame on you.
Well,
I'm
I'll
not
tell
going
you,
to associate with you, and
the allure of sex prevents a lot of men from raising their standards. The allure of proxy, it prevents men from raising their standards. If it's served up on a platter, they go for it, man. It's just the way it is. Our hardwired biology prevents a lot of men from, rising above it, you know. And as
if they were aware of these statistics, like the more sexual partners a woman has, the less likely she is to stay committed and all that, then maybe they would, wise up a bit and think, maybe I just don't want the risk, to be in a relationship with a woman like that I really don't know, because they're very good at manipulating and putting on a mask and pretending to be this innocent virgin type.
It's a bit like this whole mantra of, like, the red pill females. They're putting on this mantra of, I'm different, I'm a no wart.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's complete and utter crap.
Yeah, they all act the same when they're in the same situations. They will enact by proxy violence. They will still be driven to mate while you're around. That's not going to stop. That's what the Red Queen is about. The Red Queen, Matt Ridley's book, The Red Queen. I always say everybody should read The Red Queen, because it says implicitly that the Red Queen keeps running. Even if you think you're being in that situation and you're the man, no, the Red Queen keeps running.
Absolutely. I mean, even Mgtow has gone to the point of being gynocentric in a way, when we accept women within Mgtow. I mean, think about it. There's a man who I really care about. I love the guy, JGG. Now, JGG, very intelligent individual, who is very, very aware of female nature and gynocentrism. The man's been rejected from Mgtow from some Mgtows because of his homosexuality.
Yeah.
Now, how gynocentric is that? Because a man's homosexual, but yeah, he does have compassion for males,
Yeah, he does a good job. He's out there spreading the message. I have no problem with Double G. I don't think I've ever talked to him, and that might be something I should set my sights on. And
Well, I mean, I'd recommend talking to him. He's a very intelligent individual. I mean, I'd put him definitely in these hangouts. He's excellent.
He's excellent. Good. Yeah. I can't remember the name of that group. Maybe we should give him a plug.
I made 2 new videos, which I think is very important. One is about, I've been doing meditation for a long time, and
Excellent.
I talk about my
Give me
different
more chance.
meditation practices, and I had something like a religious experience with one of them. So I named the video "The Quickest Way to Enlightenment."
Okay.
And I think this really, because as a Mgtow, you're choosing, freedom over maybe this love and affection, not as much. You're choosing freedom, and meditation is a really good way to get a real taste of that freedom, I find, mentally. So it's like go the freedom route to the fullest, something like that. And the other video I made is like the importance of having a vision for yourself, something you want to achieve, like a life purpose. And it's like you can do like these athletes do. you make a visualization of this image, your goal picture, and you can use these affirmations. So you have something to fight for, you know, you put that image and yourself, you know, before anything else, like women or relationships or, and there's also like a conflict between, I guess, just accepting the way things are and trying to make the world so that you can have your vision come true. And I discussed that a bit also.
Yeah, meditation's important. You know, just for you know, motivation. I was just talking to one of my friends online about how to motivate myself, and uh, I like to use spoken word meditations where you know, I am the mountain, and it gives me the motivation and the strength sometimes to get by some things that I need to do in life. On
Yeah.
that, I think I'm going to close down the broadcast at 2 hours here. That's kind of palatable amount. Uh, so I'm going to stop the broadcast, and I wanted to say, you know, take care to my Mgtow brothers out there, and uh, if you want to jump in on offline, we can do that and talk about things. But as for on air, I'm going to shut this down.